So today we're going to be talking about a word that I found to be very puzzling to me when it comes to the Bible. It happens to only be in the King James Version. Could it be referring to a mythical creature? Could it be referring to maybe a creature that's long been extinct? Why don't other Bible translations use the same word as the King James Bible? We're going to be digging deeper today on Coffee with Conrad from
Conrad Rocks!
Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Conrad. This is Conrad from ConradRocks.net, rocks of revelation being poured out to you. Now, my passion is for you, yes, you, to have a spiritual relationship with the biblical Jesus. I often meditate on how Jesus is the Word, John chapter 1, and no man can get to the Father but through Jesus, John 14:6. And I also think about how God is a spirit, and those that worship him must do so in spirit and in truth, John 4:24. So when we put all this together, we get to God the Father through the Word. The Word is Jesus Christ, right? Jesus' words are spirit and are truth, and they're life, John 6:63. And we need to review them, memorize them, treasure them, put them in our hearts, and I believe we need to get the closest we can to when they came out of the mouth of God. Man lives not by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Jesus didn't speak King James English. Holy men of God, they were inspired in spirit when they wrote the scriptures, 2 Peter 1:21. So just meditate on that for a New York moment. In the last podcast, I talked about how there's no word-for-word translation from one language to another. But somehow Jesus' words supernaturally make it through all sorts of interpretations and interpolations. I also talked about various Bible versions and paraphrases and comparisons and how they can be wildly different from one another, causing very different meanings to fire off in our head and in our understanding. Today I'm going to be talking about a word that I take issue with, and it's not going to be exhaustive, but it's going to be just enough to highlight that we need to pay attention when we're reading the Bible. Tyndale was executed for heresy for translating the word ekklesia into assembly or congregation rather than church. This one-word translation undermined the whole institutional church system of the Catholic Church. And, keep in mind, it's been suggested that anywhere from 70 to 90% of Tyndale's translation was used by the King James translators. So words are important. It cost Tyndale his life. So now let's talk about unicorns.
You are having coffee with Conrad on ConradRocks.net.
Did you know the word unicorn is in the King James Bible? Now, so if it's in there, are we talking about the mythical creature, the horse with the wings and the horn coming out of the front of its head? And why is this word unicorn only in the King James Bible? Why is that? So I'm going to read an article from unicornsrule.com because they actually tackled this, and I thought it was a pretty good article. I'm going to read it for you, and I'll have the link for this article in the show notes so you can share it with your friends. Unicorns in the Bible. When many people hear that unicorns are mentioned in the Bible, they imagine the mythical unicorn with a flowing mane and a sparkling horn. But that image of the unicorn is only fantasy. Unicorns are mentioned in the Bible. In fact, they're mentioned in the Bible 9 times. But before you rush off to check it out for yourself, you need to know that the word unicorn only occurs in the authorized King James Version of the Bible, which means if you have a modern Bible, another word has probably been substituted for unicorn to distinguish the unicorns mentioned in the Bible from the mythical ones. A little history. Translations gone wrong. It's amazing that this unicornsrule.com article is so, catching what I'm trying to say here. So, back to the article. You may be wondering how anyone knows that unicorns of the Bible were not really the legendary unicorns. The truth is, no one really knows for sure. But there are some historical clues that shed some light on the topic. Because the Old Testament was written in Hebrew and later translated to other languages, it is easy for the meaning of the words to change over time. Hey guys, this is what I'm saying in this podcast series. Words seem to change over time. Back to the article. That's exactly what many religious scholars think happened with the word for unicorn. Around 250 BC, a group of Greek scholars undertook the task of translating the original Hebrew biblical text to Greek to make it available to the public. When these scholars encountered the Hebrew word re'im, they were puzzled. It probably referred to a wild ox with one horn, but because it had become extinct, the Greeks did not have a word for the name of the animal. They did what any good scholar would do and translated it to the closest word they knew. They used the word monoceros, meaning one-horned, to describe the biblical unicorn. Later, when St. Jerome translated the Bible to Latin, he encountered the word monoceros and did the same thing. He used the Latin word unicornus, which also meant one-horned. Now, in 1611, when a group of scholars translated the Bible to English, there was no English equivalent for the word unicornus, so they coined the new English word unicorn. So what was a monoceros? Interestingly, the Greek word monoceros, gives us more clues to the identity of the biblical unicorn. Many point to the 1828 version of Webster's dictionary as proof that monoceros refers to the mythical unicorn and not some wild ox or rhino. Dude, do you see how words change over time? They're even going back to an 1828 dictionary. This is pretty awesome. It really does illustrate the point I'm making in this podcast series. Back to the article. While it is true that Webster's dictionary defines a monoceros as unicorn, there is more to the story. The 1828 dictionary provides more detail in its definition of unicorn. Unicorn noun, Latin unicornus, unus one, and cornu, horn. 1. An animal with one horn, the monoceros. This name is often applied to the rhinoceros. Clearly, the word monoceros did refer to a unicorn, but it was more likely a type of one-horned rhino than a mythical unicorn dancing among rainbows. So, what do we know about unicorns in the Bible verses? While the appearance of the unicorn isn't described in the Bible, it does provide some clues to the nature of this mysterious beast. In Numbers 23:22 and 24:8, the Bible speaks of the strength of a unicorn. Deuteronomy 33:17, Psalm 22:21, and Psalm 92:10 speak of the unicorn's horn. Job 39:9 and Job 39:10 both speak of the unicorn not tilling the earth. In Psalms 29:6, the unicorn is likened to a young calf skipping, while Isaiah 34:7 mentions unicorns in the same context as bulls and bullocks. From the context of the word unicorn in the Bible, we can conclude that the unicorn was an animal of great strength, similar to bulls and bullocks, with a notable horn. We can also conclude that it was not a domesticated animal used to till the fields. The answer to the question, are there unicorns in the Bible, is yes, but no one knows for sure what biblical unicorn really look like. Most scholars agree the unicorns mentioned in the Bible are either a type of wild ox, as the Hebrew name suggests, or a one-horned rhinoceros, as the Greek suggests. Nearly everyone agrees that the biblical unicorn is unlikely to match our image of the mythical unicorn. So that was a pretty cool article. I'm going to include the link to this article in the show notes. It was a very fascinating read. And do you see how the word unicorn is only used in the King James Bible? You see, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? So is Easter. You know, what's up with those King James translators? And I love the King James Bible, and that's why I'm spotting these things. You know, if I was reading the NIV or the ESV, I would probably take issue with a few of their words, but I don't really read those. The King James is the one I read because it has the strong numbers tied to it. In other versions, this unicornus word is translated as wild ox. So for my peeps that might be thinking that I'm a King James only kind of guy, just hold on to your unicorns. So do you see how the word unicorn, do you see how words, they change over time? Here are some excerpts that I've taken from Creation Today, pretty much on the same subject. Here it goes. If you get an old 1828 Noah Webster's dictionary, which is the very first edition dictionary that Webster came out with about 200 years ago, and look up the word unicorn, it says unicorn. An animal with one horn, the rhinoceros, this name is often applied to the rhinoceros. According to Noah Webster, back in the early 1800s, it was understood that there were two species of the rhinoceros. The one-horned species was called unicorn, and the two-horned species was called bicornus. That makes sense to me. Today, it's understood that there are 5 species of the rhinoceros, 3 of which have 2 horns and 2 of which have 1. So basically, if you get a 200-year-old Noah Webster's dictionary and look up the word unicorn, it says rhinoceros. If you look up the word rhinoceros, it says unicorn. That was just 200 years ago. The King James translators were 400 years ago in 1611. So I'm going to include that link too so you can explore it further as well. I don't want to dedicate like several hours to the word unicorn, but I do want to show you how words can kind of change over time, even in our Bibles that we have today. So, what do you think of when you hear the word unicorn? In the first part of this podcast series, you'll probably remember that I was puzzled why a Bible teacher would use a current English dictionary, the current Webster's, to define a word in another language that was written thousands of years ago. Words change over time, but we make the mistake of applying our current definition to the word. So muse with me a little bit here. Let's go on a tour. I want you to imagine back to the time when you first heard the word unicorn or read it. Now, I'm going to bet that it probably wasn't while you were exegeting the Bible at 5 years old. It was probably from a children's book with lots of rainbows and colors and flying animals and cute little stories about a one-horned horse flying in the clouds. Knowing that, what happens to us when we encounter this word for the first time in the Bible? See, we already have a preconceived presupposition that a unicorn is a mythical creature in cartoon books. So we may run into some serious cognitive dissonance, or we may dismiss any thoughts and just assume the Bible is wrong, right? Or we may assume that the Bible is right. In fact, one-horse mythical creatures did exist in olden times. In any event, one who reads the Bible should wrestle for its meaning and not ignore the Word of God. So when we glaze through these passages, it's like we kick out things that we don't understand. And to me, that's my next Bible study. We need to study to show ourselves approved to God and beware of the scribes, Luke 20:46. So pay attention. Don't just gloss over the book that God wants us to read. So let's compare this unicorn thing to Santa Claus. Kids are taught about Santa Claus and they associate, let's just be honest, don't kid yourself. Kids associate Santa Claus with the birth of Christ, and they actually look forward to Santa Claus more. Santa Claus overshadows the birth of Jesus. They're all about getting presents, okay? And then when they find out that Santa Claus isn't real, they're going to probably assume that Jesus isn't real either. They go hand in hand. They're tied together. And isn't it interesting that the Easter Bunny isn't real, and that's tied into the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So it almost seems like these myths were purposely planted, doesn't it?
You are digging deeper with Conrad on ConradRocks.net.
So when we run across the word unicorn, it's going to trigger some subconscious thought pattern which may dismiss the authenticity of the Bible, which this means that the Bible may go on the coffee table collecting dust. How many people in America read their Bibles between Sundays? Okay. Beneath the scenes, subconsciously, we are eroding our estimation of the authenticity of the Bible because of a word that we know as unicorn to be a mythical being. This mythical being is in the Bible, so A equal B equals C, elementary subconscious logic, right? Going down another rabbit trail here, if we see the word unicorn is in the King James Bible, but it's not in other translations, we might begin to think that the King James Bible's not up with the times, which it isn't supposed to be, right? I really like the King James translation. I'm only picking on it because I read the King James Version, mostly. I listen to the King James Bible most of the time, and yeah, there's some words that I take issue with. I had to dig a little deeper. Now, something really interesting that kind of inspired this podcast, I wasn't even thinking about unicorn. I was thinking about how words change over time, but I was coming out of Walmart one day, and I was pondering this very series, and this lady, she comes up to the door. She's walking right in front of me with a unicorn on her shirt, and lights went flashing, and I realized, oh yeah, I take issue with the word unicorn. So I had already been taking notes for this series, and I think that was God like saying, hey, you need to talk about the unicorn and how it's only in the King James Bible. So anyway, take it how you will. So I kept on digging. You know, nobody really knows about this whole unicorn thing. It could have been a rhinoceros or something similar. You know, the more popular African rhino has two horns, but one is prominent. You know what a rhinoceros looks like. It has that one big horn sticking out. The Indian rhinoceros has a single horn. So who really knows what this is? Maybe it is an extinct creature. I've never seen anybody plow a field with a rhinoceros, so maybe it's a rhinoceros. So I want to thank you for listening to this podcast series, and I'm going to be continuing this a little bit more with some more words that I take issue with. And these words, keep in mind, they affect our doctrine, you know, even though we may not be aware of it. That's why I encourage you to get a Strong's, a Vine's, a Thayer's, and dig into the original languages. And as a thank you for being a Conrad Rocks listener, I'm putting a link in the show notes to where you can get Scribed for 2 months for free. Scribed is an unlimited audio and ebooks provider. Yes, I said that. Right now, it's unlimited. For a while there, I was only allowed like 3 ebooks a month and 1 audio book, but now it's unlimited, man. It rocks. So it's like Netflix for ebooks and audiobooks. Scribed is also a place where you can upload and read uploaded documents. It really rocks. I do a lot of my research there. So be sure to use my link to where you can get 2 free months rather than the 1 that they offer. With Scribed, you can also read across all of your devices. You know, they all sync. You know, my computer, you can take notes, you can highlight. It's just awesome, man. What can I say? Scribed rocks. Thank you for being in my life. Until we meet again, dig deeper and go higher.
Dig deeper, go higher at ConradRocks.net.